Welcome to Angelic Encounters, stories of hope and healing. Thank you for joining us today. In this episode, we have 3 inspiring stories. We hope these stories uplift your spirit and remind you of the power of faith and the presence of angels in our lives. All too often, people live out their final days in a nursing home. This is the story of one such person and the young volunteer who entered her life at the end, bringing unexpected joy and profound change.
It was a crisp autumn morning, the kind that reminded Eleanor Harris of the beautiful landscapes of her youth. The cool mountain air filled her lungs as she looked out the window, feeling a tinge of nostalgia. The garden below was a tapestry of colors, with leaves in shades of red, orange, and yellow rustling gently in the breeze. The sunlight filtered through the trees, casting a warm glow on the dew-kissed grass. It was the kind of morning that made one appreciate the simple beauty of nature, a stark contrast to the routine and isolation that had defined Eleanor's life for the past 20 years. In a quiet corner of Maplewood nursing home, Eleanor had spent those years, her days becoming a monotonous blur of routine and solitude. The walls of her small room were covered with fading photographs, a loving husband, 2 children, and countless cherished moments. But as time passed, visitors dwindled. Her children, caught up in their own lives, visited less frequently. The lively conversations and laughter that once filled her days were now replaced by a heavy silence. She knew her days were numbered, and the thought of her impending end cast a long shadow over her once joyful spirit. Eleanor often sat by her window, gazing at the garden where flowers bloomed with each passing season. She remembered the days when she would tend her own garden, feeling the earth between her fingers, nurturing life. Now, she felt as though she was merely waiting for her own life to reach its inevitable end. The nurses were kind, but their smiles did little to alleviate the loneliness that had taken root in her heart. One crisp autumn morning, Maplewood welcomed a new volunteer. Annabelle was 18, with a radiant smile and an aura of warmth. She had recently graduated from high school and was eager to make a difference before starting college. Annabelle had always been drawn to helping others, a calling that seemed to come from somewhere deep within her. "Good morning, Miss Harris. My name is Annabelle," the young volunteer said cheerfully as she entered Eleanor's room. She brought a bouquet of fresh daisies, their yellow petals bright against the drab surroundings. Eleanor looked up, surprised by the sudden burst of color and life. "Good morning, dear. It's been a while since someone brought me flowers," she replied, her voice tinged with melancholy. Annabelle placed the daisies in a vase on the bedside table. "I thought they might brighten your day. Would you like some company this morning?" Eleanor hesitated for a moment before nodding. "I suppose that would be nice." As the days turned into weeks, Annabelle became a regular visitor in Eleanor's room. She would read to her, play cards, and share stories about her life. They talked about everything: Annabelle's dreams of becoming a nurse, Eleanor's fond memories of her late husband, and the small joys that brought light to their days. Annabelle's presence was like a breath of fresh air. Her laughter and kindness slowly began to chip away at the walls of loneliness and despair that had enclosed Eleanor's heart. For the first time in years, she felt a glimmer of hope, a reason to smile. One afternoon, as they sat by the window watching the leaves fall, Eleanor turned to Annabelle and said, "You know, dear, you've brought so much joy into my life. I haven't felt this happy in years." Annabelle smiled gently. "I'm glad to hear that, Miss Harris. You deserve all the happiness in the world." Tears welled up in Eleanor's eyes. "I'm afraid I don't have much time left. But knowing you has made these last days bearable. Thank you." Annabelle took Eleanor's hand in hers. "We'll make the most of the time we have, Miss Harris. And remember, you're never alone." As the months passed, Eleanor's health continued to decline. She was confined to her bed, but Annabelle remained a constant source of comfort and companionship. The bond between them grew stronger, and Eleanor found solace in knowing that someone cared deeply for her. One chilly December evening, Eleanor's condition worsened. The nurses knew it was only a matter of time. Annabelle stayed by her side, holding her hand, whispering words of comfort and love. "Annabelle," Eleanor whispered weakly, "I don't want to leave you. You've become like family to me." Tears welled up in Annabelle's eyes. "You have been like a grandmother to me, Miss Harris." I'll always carry your memory in my heart. As the night grew darker, Eleanor's breathing became labored. She looked at Annabelle, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and acceptance. Will you stay with me? Of course, Annabelle replied softly. I'm right here with you. Eleanor closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of Annabelle's hand in hers. She took a deep breath, and with a peaceful smile, she drifted into eternal sleep. The nursing home was filled with a sense of loss, but also a quiet understanding that Eleanor had found peace. Annabelle stayed with her until the end, her presence a testament to the profound impact she had on Eleanor's life. After Eleanor's passing, Annabelle stood in the garden where they had spent many afternoons together. She looked up at the sky, feeling a sense of fulfillment and purpose. She knew that her time at Maplewood had been more than just volunteering. It had been a calling, a divine mission. As Eleanor's spirit ascended to the heavens, she was greeted by a familiar face. The young woman who had brought joy and comfort in her final days stood before her, radiant and ethereal. Annabelle? Eleanor asked, her voice filled with awe. The young woman smiled warmly. Yes, Ms. Harris. I've been watching over you, guiding you through your journey. It was my privilege to be with you in your final days and to welcome you home. Eleanor's heart swelled with gratitude and love. She realized that Annabelle had been an angel all along, sent to bring light to her darkest moments and to guide her to eternal peace. In the celestial garden, surrounded by the beauty of heaven, Annabelle and Eleanor walked hand in hand, their spirits intertwined in a bond that transcended the mortal world. Together, they embarked on a new journey, filled with joy, love, and the promise of eternal life. And so, Eleanor's story became a testament to the power of divine intervention, the strength of human connection, and the enduring hope that lies within the human heart.
All too often, people face unimaginable trials that challenge their beliefs and reshape their lives. This is the story of one such individual, a doctor grounded in science, who experienced a profound and miraculous transformation that altered the course of his life and the lives of many others.
I was a man of science through and through. As one of the most respected oncologists in the country, I had dedicated my life to understanding and fighting cancer. I had witnessed the ravages of the disease on countless patients, and my work was driven by a relentless pursuit of knowledge and cures. To me, belief in a higher power seemed unnecessary. I placed my faith in research, data, and the tangible results of medical science. However, life has a way of humbling even the most confident among us. At the age of 53, I was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, a disease notorious for its low survival rate. Despite my expertise, I found myself on the other side of the medical equation, facing a prognosis that was bleak at best. As the months passed, my condition worsened. The aggressive nature of my cancer left me weak and frail, a shadow of my former self. The treatments that I had once prescribed with confidence now seemed futile. I had exhausted every option: chemotherapy, radiation, clinical trials, yet nothing seemed to halt the relentless progression of the disease. By the time I reached the advanced stages, I knew my time was running out. One evening, as I lay in my hospital bed, I stared at the ceiling, my mind a whirlwind of thoughts and regrets. The room was dimly lit, the only sound the steady beeping of the heart monitor. I felt an overwhelming sense of despair and hopelessness. It was in this moment of darkness that something extraordinary happened. A soft, warm light began to fill the room. I squinted, my eyes adjusting to the sudden brightness. As the light grew brighter, I saw a figure standing at the foot of my bed. It was a young woman, radiating an ethereal glow. Her presence was calming and serene, and her eyes held a depth of compassion that I had never seen before. "Who are you?" I managed to whisper, my voice weak and trembling. The woman smiled gently. "I am an angel, sent to help you in your time of need." My mind raced. An angel? It seemed impossible, a figment of my fevered imagination. I had never believed in such things. Yet there she was, standing before me, her presence undeniable. "Why are you here?" I asked, my skepticism giving way to curiosity. The angel stepped closer, her light illuminating the room. "I am here to heal you, Dr. Anderson. But more importantly, I am here to show you that there is more to life than what can be seen and measured." My heart pounded in my chest. "Heal me?" How is that possible? The angel reached out and touched my hand. With faith, all things are possible. You have spent your life searching for answers in science, but there are some truths that transcend human understanding. As she spoke, a warmth spread through my body. I felt a surge of energy and vitality that I hadn't felt in months. The pain and weakness that had consumed me began to fade away, replaced by a profound sense of peace and well-being. Tears streamed down my face as I looked at the angel. Why me? Why am I being given this gift when so many others are not? The angel's expression softened. Because you have a purpose, Michael. There is someone you will save in the future, someone whose life will have a profound impact on humanity. It is part of a greater plan, one that you are destined to fulfill. I was silent, my mind grappling with the enormity of the angel's words. I had always believed in the power of science, but now I was being asked to place my faith in something far greater. The angel continued, "Your journey is not over, Michael. You have been given a second chance, not just to live, but to believe. There is a higher power at work, guiding and shaping the world in ways that you cannot fully understand." I nodded, my heart swelling with a newfound sense of hope and purpose. For the first time in my life, I felt a connection to something greater than myself, a divine presence that transcended the boundaries of science and reason. As the angel's light began to fade, she left me with one final message. Remember, Michael, faith is not the absence of doubt, but the presence of trust. Trust in the journey, and you will find your way. With that, the angel disappeared, leaving me alone in the room. But I was no longer the same man who had lain there in despair. I had been given a gift, a chance to see the world through new eyes. And I knew that I would use this gift to make a difference, to fulfill the purpose that had been entrusted to me. Over the following weeks, my recovery was nothing short of miraculous. My cancer went into remission, baffling my colleagues and defying medical explanation. But I knew the truth. I had been touched by something beyond science, something divine. As I resumed my work at the hospital, I carried with me the memory of the angel and the lessons she had taught me. I approached my patients with a renewed sense of compassion and faith, offering not just medical treatment, but hope and encouragement. And in time, I would indeed encounter the person the angel had spoken of, a young girl with a rare and aggressive form of leukemia. Her case was challenging, but my unwavering belief in her recovery made all the difference. With my guidance and the advancements in medical science, she survived and went on to become a leading researcher in the field of immunotherapy, developing treatments that saved countless lives. One evening, after a long day at the hospital, I was taking the train home. As I stood on the platform, reflecting on the day's events, I noticed a familiar presence. There, amidst the crowd, was the angel, her celestial glow unmistakable. Our eyes met, and in that moment I knew that I had fulfilled the purpose for which I had been given a second chance. The angel smiled at me, a silent affirmation of the journey I had undertaken. As the train pulled away from the platform, I felt a profound sense of peace. I had been guided by a divine presence, and my life had been transformed. The once skeptical man of science had found faith, guided by an angel's touch and a purpose greater than I had ever imagined. My story became an inspiration to others, a reminder that sometimes miracles do happen, and faith can light the way through even the darkest of times.
All too often, people face unimaginable trials that challenge their beliefs and reshape their lives. This is the story of a young boy lost in the woods and an angel who comes to his aid in the most unexpected way.
It was a warm summer afternoon, and 7-year-old Tommy was playing in his backyard, chasing butterflies and making up games. His parents, Sarah and John, were inside the cabin, preparing lunch and chatting about the day's plans. They kept a watchful eye on Tommy from the window, but in the moment they got distracted, his adventure began. A sudden movement caught Tommy's eye, a deer standing at the edge of the woods just beyond the backyard. Mesmerized by the majestic creature, he decided to follow it, wanting to get a closer look. Without a second thought, he stepped into the forest, his small feet crunching on the fallen leaves as he ventured deeper and deeper into the woods, following the deer that seemed to beckon him further. As Tommy ventured further into the dense woods, the deer disappeared from sight, and he suddenly realized how far he had come. He turned around, trying to retrace his steps, but nothing looked familiar. Panic set in as he realized he couldn't find the path back home. He wandered aimlessly, calling out for his parents, but the only response was the rustling of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. As night began to fall, Tommy's fear grew. He knew that his family would be searching for him, but the vastness of the forest seemed to swallow his cries for help. Tommy stumbled over roots and through underbrush, his small frame growing tired and his heart pounding in his chest. Every sound seemed amplified in the gathering dusk, the snap of a twig, the rustle of a bush. His imagination ran wild, conjuring images of lurking predators. He remembered stories of bears and wolves in the woods, and his fear escalated. Meanwhile, back at the cabin, Sarah and John realized that Tommy was nowhere to be seen. Sarah clutched his favorite teddy bear, tears streaming down her face. "We need to find him, John. We need to find him now," she pleaded with her husband. John nodded, his face grim. "I'll call the search and rescue team. We need all the help we can get." Within 2 hours, a team of rescuers had assembled. Flashlights and search dogs were readied, and the search began in earnest. The team spread out, calling Tommy's name, their voices echoing through the woods. "Over here, I thought I heard something," one rescuer shouted. But each time they thought they were close, Tommy had already moved on, driven by his fear and desperation. The searchers regrouped, discussing their next move. "We need to bring in more resources," said Dave, the team leader. "The woods are dense, and the kid could be anywhere by now." "Do you think he's all right out there?" asked Emily, one of the volunteers, her voice filled with concern. "We have to hope so," Dave replied. "But we need to find him soon. These woods are no place for a child, especially with predators around." As the search continued, Tommy's energy waned. He stumbled upon a small clearing and sat down on a fallen log, his small body shaking with exhaustion and fear. He began to cry, the reality of his situation sinking in. It was then that he noticed a soft, warm light deeper in the woods, growing brighter and brighter. He wiped his tears and watched in awe as the light approached. From the heart of the glow, a figure emerged and stepped into the clearing. It was a young woman with a gentle smile and an ethereal glow. Her presence was calming, and her eyes held a warmth that made Tommy feel safe. "Hello, Tommy," she said softly. "My name is Sarah. I'm here to help you." Tommy's fear melted away as he looked into her kind eyes. "Are you an angel?" he asked, his voice trembling with a mix of awe and curiosity. Sarah nodded, her smile growing. "Yes, I am. And I'm here to keep you company until help arrives. Would you like to play a game with me?" Tommy nodded eagerly, his tears forgotten. Sarah sat down beside him, and together they played simple games, talked about his favorite things, and even made up stories. Her presence was a beacon of hope, keeping Tommy's spirits high and his mind occupied. Hours passed, but Tommy remained in the clearing with Sarah. He no longer felt the need to wander aimlessly. Instead, he felt a sense of peace and comfort that he couldn't explain. The angels' laughter and kind words made him forget his fear. Meanwhile, the search and rescue teams continued their efforts. Guided by a newfound sense of urgency, they scoured the woods more meticulously. It was as if an invisible force was leading them closer to Tommy's location. As dawn broke, the light of a new day revealed the clearing where Sarah and Tommy sat. The search team, drawn by a glimmer of light, finally spotted the boy. They rushed to him, their shouts of relief filling the air. "Tommy, we've found you," they cried, tears of joy streaming down their faces. Tommy looked up at Sarah, his heart filled with gratitude. "Thank you for staying with me," he whispered. Sarah smiled and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You're welcome, Tommy. Remember, you are never alone." With that, the angel's glow began to fade, and she disappeared, leaving Tommy in the capable hands of the rescuers. As they carried him back to safety, he couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder and awe at the encounter he had experienced. Back at the cabin, Tommy's parents embraced him tightly, their hearts overflowing with relief and joy. He told them about Sarah, the angel who had kept him company and saved his life. Though they couldn't see her, they believed his story, knowing that miracles do happen. From that day on, Tommy carried the memory of Sarah with him. He knew that there were forces at work beyond what he could see, and he found comfort in the knowledge that he was never truly alone. And so, the story of a young boy lost in the woods and the angel who came to his aid became a testament to the power of faith, hope, and the enduring presence of angels in our lives.
Thank you for listening to these heartfelt stories. I hope they inspire you to recognize the true power of faith and the presence of angels in our times of need. If these stories touched you, please like and subscribe for more uplifting content. Stay blessed and see you next time.